Year-old President Paul Biya secured an 8th term in office. Hundreds of protesters hit the streets in parts of Cameroon to oppose Biya's victory. The demonstrators carried out rallies, torched piles of debris and clashed with security forces. The protests rocked the country's economic capital, Douala, and
Welcome to AfriGlobal 24, your trusted source for breaking news, deep insights, and stories shaping Africa and the world. Stay informed, stay connected, and experience the news that matters. Right here, 24/7. The eyes of Africa and the world have turned to Cameroon, where decades of power converge in a single moment, one that may redefine the country's future. Paul Biya, aged 92, the world's oldest serving leader, has just been declared the winner of yet another presidential term, an outcome that has sparked protests, accusations of fraud, and a crisis of legitimacy. Since 1982, Biya has ruled Cameroon with an iron grip. Over 4 decades, his regime has faced challenges from separatists, youth discontent, economic stagnation, and international criticism. Yet the machinery of power has persisted. Now, with official results placing him at 53.66% of the vote, and his main challenger, Issa Tyroma Bakary, claiming he secured contrary numbers, the country stands at a crossroads. When the country went to the polls on October 12th, the atmosphere was tense. Youth, frustrated with unemployment and long years of stagnation, voiced a desire for change. Tyroma broke ranks with the ruling elite, campaigned vigorously, and declared victory even before the official count. He claimed that the people had spoken. On October 27th, the Constitutional Council of Cameroon announced that Biya had won. A new 7-year term would extend his rule toward his 100th year. Many observers saw not a democratic renewal, but a consolidation of power. In the hours and days that followed, protests erupted in Douala, Yaoundé, Garoua, and other cities. Fires, barricades, tear gas, and live bullets marked the confrontation between demonstrators and security forces. Opposition groups reported at least 4 deaths, dozens were injured or detained. Many Cameroonians voiced a deep frustration. They felt the system no longer allowed real change. A 92-year-old leader, more than 40 years in power, entering yet another term. Even as youth unemployment, infrastructural decay, and armed separatist conflict persisted, seemed to many less like governance and more like inertia. At the heart of the unrest lies questions of legitimacy. The challenger, Tyroma, claimed to have won 54.8% of the vote according to local tallies, challenging the official figure of 53.66% for Biya. He called the official result a masquerade and warned of deeper consequences if the people's will was ignored. The government, likewise, defended the result and blamed the protests on a diabolical plot to destabilize the nation. Minister Paul Biya accused demonstrators of unleashing havoc, while security forces remained entrenched on the streets of major cities. For many Cameroonians, the election outcome symbolized far more than a change of office. It represented the persistence of a system that some say has outlived its legitimacy. In cities where barricades were raised, youth chanted against the status quo. In rural regions torn by Anglophone separatist war, the same sense of disaffection was muffled but real. Cameroon's political architecture has often relegated youth, informal workers, and the marginalized to the sidelines. The median age in the country is under 20. Many young people report making their living in the informal sector, in a country whose official youth unemployment rate is far lower than reality. For those youth, the notion of real political voice has long felt elusive. This cycle of exclusion underscores why the reaction to the official result was so immediate and intense. It was not merely about one term. It was about whether the system itself could still deliver change. The broader context is also critical. Cameroon remains divided between French-speaking and English-speaking regions. The Anglophone crisis, insurgency in the northern region, and corruption have weakened institutions. Biya's long rule has seen both stability and stagnation. Supporters credit him with preserving national unity, while critics accuse him of entrenching power. As the protests spread, the state's response grew heavier. Security forces deployed across major intersections in Yaoundé and Douala. Shops shuttered. Traffic remained light. Authorities banned public gatherings, and intermittent internet disruptions were reported. Some civil society groups documented deaths, arbitrary arrests, and excessive use of force. The stage was set for a standoff, the government asserting constitutional outcome, the opposition rejecting legitimacy, and the public caught in between. Analysts describe Biya's mandate as notably shaky, pointing to low voter turnout, regional tensions, and belief among many Cameroonians that the vote did not reflect the will of the people. What makes this moment especially volatile is the generational dynamic. A leadership which emerged in the 1980s, managing Cold War complexities and maintaining power through continuity, now finds itself challenged by citizens born decades later, who expect participation, transparency, and tangible opportunities. For them, elections are not merely about choice, they are about accountability. The tension between continuity and change forces a question. Can a system designed for its time still serve a society whose realities have evolved? Cameroon may now test that question. The opposition's arguments center around stalled development. Cameroon's economy, while rich in resources, has underperformed. Infrastructure decays, public services lag behind needs, and many regions, particularly the English-speaking Northwest and Southwest, remain caught in separatist strife. In that light, many Cameroonians saw the election not as a choice, but as a confirmation of their frustration. For the ruling party, the logic is institutional stability. Biya's supporters argue his long tenure provides continuity, experience, and a stable hand in a fraught regional environment. Yet critics counter that longevity without renewal can become a liability. The question becomes, renewal of what and how? As the nation now awaits Biya's swearing in, expected within 15 days of the announcement, a deeper crisis remains. Will inauguration mark stability or deepen polarization? The opposition continues to mobilize. Civil society demands accountability. International observers question the credibility of the results. And the people, in the streets, demand more than ballots. They demand relevance. The next days may determine whether Cameroon remains locked in the old cycle of power or ventures into something new. If the state responds with repression, the protests risk intensifying. If the government engages in dialogue, the country may yet steer toward reform. The stakes are high. A nation of nearly 30 million, a regional pivot state in Central Africa, and a leadership that has shaped its destiny for 43 years. In Douala, roads once clogged with commerce turned silent as barricades rose. Young protesters confronted gendarmes, fires lit the night. In Yaoundé, strategic deployments signaled the scale of the government's concern. The images spread across social media, reinforcing the sense that something fundamental was breaking. Beyond the protest sites lie the deeper structures that must evolve. Cameroon's institutions, electoral bodies, judiciary, regional governance, face renewed scrutiny. The question of legitimacy now shadows every official result. Will citizens feel their voices matter or resort to other outlets for change? For the international community, Cameroon's moment carries significance beyond its borders. The credibility of African elections, the role of long-serving leaders, the handling of internal dissent, all are under the lens. As Biya continues, can the region progress toward inclusive governance? Or will it retreat into a model of gerontocratic continuity? Yet even in this tension lies hope. Because if Cameroon's youth are demanding relevance, if monitoring groups are insisting on transparency, and if civic engagement is rising, then the crisis may be the spark of renewal. A nation that has seen its leadership remain unchanged for generations may now face its most profound test. This story will not be resolved overnight. It may take weeks, months, or years. But for now, Cameroon stands at a juncture. 8th term, but what comes next? Will the silence of complacency give way to the noise of transformation? Will the protests fade or evolve into structural reform? Will the people accept a system relocked or insist on change? In this moment of hope and tension, one thing is clear. The people of Cameroon have spoken, not just through ballots, but with their voices in the streets. Whether the state adapts or resists will define the next chapter of this Central African nation. And for a leader who has guided the country for over 40 years, it is not merely about winning another election. It is about whether his mandate is still accepted or stands precariously on contested ground. Cameroon's future may hinge not on one man's term, but on whether the system that underpins a nation remains trusted. In the echo of the protests, in the weight of the vote, in the age of the leader, Cameroon now holds its breath. You've been watching Afri Global 24, your window into Africa and the world. If you found this video informative, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to stay updated on the latest stories shaping our continent and beyond. Hit the notification bell so you never miss a report, and join the conversation in the comments below. Until next time, this is Afri Global 24, bringing Africa closer to the globe 24 hours a day.